Hello, happy Sunday. So excited and grateful to be here today. So is she. And be with you and just celebrate this day, this particular day, and this particular topic. And it was an interesting topic, right? First was love, and then it became power. And I love the fact that it changed. Conceptually, I loved it. I'll leave it at that. I'll get more into that later. The idea of, hey, we're going to take a deeper step here. Let's look at something else. And at the same time, is it really something else? And that's what I've been with this entire month. I thought I was ready to speak about love. I had my talk all written up. I was certainly attached to it. It was a winner. But I love the fact also that we're here like nestled between the two holidays, right? We're nestled between Valentine's Day on Thursday, this holiday that is all about the expression of love when you get to the deepest meaning of it. And then President's Day, this holiday that is really about the title, the responsibility, the stewardship of good leadership and power. And I think this is just such a powerful day, not to overuse that word, but I will today. Just a great moment to just mark that these two things are in concert with each other. The words I may be using today between love and power may be thoroughly interchangeable for you. There may be more words than just those two. And like I said before, I was conceptually really thrilled and happy, but then it was like, how do we talk about power? The languaging that we've had, most of us, I know I have, been very troubled with. The idea of control being one of the tenets, at least how we've conceptualized it in race consciousness about power. Disparity, difference, separation. Yet, as I kept sitting and walking and being with this great new topic, in my meditation, in my quiet time, often actually just walking my dog, I learned what power and love can be together and how they interplay. This little creature that I get to walk 3 times a day gets to teach me through the pulling of a leash, through its sheer presence, so much about life, so much about being present, that in its own expression of its aliveness, it has this vibrancy, this deep abiding love, this presence, this curiosity, this determination. It's pulling at the leash, yet it comes back. And it reminds me, frankly, of all of us, that we're all tugging and pushing the bounds just a little bit in our curiosity, in our determination, in our love of life, love period. And that is an immense power and an immense play of life. And at the same time, I'm watching and observing as I'm trying to figure out what power is and how I can speak to it at all. How this creature is just wonderfully vulnerable. That its power comes from being so available. That it will just get on its back and accept a good belly rub. And just know that love is here. That I, in being present here, that is my power, and love is here. I wish my dog could talk. He'd probably be up here. And he'd probably be doing a better job. Yet he was my teacher this month. I just thought it was so curious that just to be present with that this creature is really just like a creation like all of us. That we are all this creation, this creature that is love, power, that is the expression of the fullness and richness of life. And that we are born of that life and always creating, always expressing, always attuned. And we are in moment by moment in choice as to whether we are attuned, as to whether we want to be present or not. Ernest Holmes said that all the peace there is, all the power there is, all the good there is love. The living, spiritual Almighty. All the power there is love. So, what is our relationship with that Almighty? with that power that is greater than ourselves. We might be more comfortable speaking to or being in relationship with the idea of love. For me, my first understanding of God was love. I was told God lives in your heart, and that clicked. And that love was the ultimate expression of God. But let's take a step back. Let's go Old Testament for a minute. There's a whole power thing with God. There is a presence, a force that is God in and of itself. And even though we make love rather complex, even though it's rather straightforward, sometimes we make love rather conditional, we make it in our heads, we critique, we judge, we separate. My sense was, as time went on, that we had a more complex relationship with power itself. That we were a bit old, well, certainly I was, quite Old Testament about it. I was comfortable with the idea of love, but power had its own separation from me. So the invitation today is to journey with me, perhaps in considering some of what I've had to walk with and work with. What is our relationship with love? So the Tao has this astounding verse, 81 verses in total. Verse number 6 speaks about this power. Endlessly creating, endlessly pulsating, the spirit of the valley never dies. She is called the hidden creator, although she becomes the whole universe. Her immaculate purity is never lost, although she assumes countless forms. Her true identity remains intact. Whatever we see or we don't see, whatever exists or doesn't exist, is nothing but the creation of this supreme power. Endlessly creating, endlessly pulsating. Every one of these words is such a gift to me. Creating, what does creating mean? Is that the act of love right there? This idea that through our passion, through what moves us, we get to create something minute by minute? Is it also the work of creative mind as well, that our thoughts get to create each and every powerful moment? And is that our power? I would say yes. Endlessly pulsating. Pulsating. Interesting. This ebb and flow, it speaks to me of life. That there is something that in the peaks and in the valleys is still ever present. That there is no moment in which our power is not with us. Even in the ebb, even in the valley, the spirit of the valley is always there. It never dies. She's called the hidden creator. I like the word hidden. We often want to see it right there manifest. Show me, we'll say. Show me. Yet the thought, we know, precludes the demonstration. That's the invitation, I think, of power, to always ask us, what are we thinking? What are we believing? What is hidden within us that can then be made manifest? Because we know our thoughts make our reality, that our truth is going to manifest in our experience, that the law of cause and effect is always in operation. And as I continue in this verse, although she becomes the whole universe, that nothing is outside of this circle, that there is complete unity within power. Nothing is outside of it. This to me is probably my greatest experience or inexperience of power, is the idea of I don't have any. Whatever's happening out there, God, I wish I had something I could do about it. I don't have any power. That was an interesting belief. And one that is not in alignment with the real truth, which is that it is always within us, always creating within us, that we have a role to play. We have, even in the ebbs and flows, it is pulsating within us. There is no separation. Love tells us that perhaps more easily, but power does as well. True power unites. True power brings us together. And then these countless forms that power take on. I've been using a lot of words, and because there are countless, countless forms. There are so many ways in which this ability, this force of good, of change, is alive in our lives. We know perhaps mostly is love, but there's generosity. Laurel, your name means victory. I just know that because I looked up Loretta's name, which is also related to Laurel. My name means generous. I think each of us have a name that is given, bestowed to us, perhaps by a wisdom beyond ourselves that we live up to. That is also our power. Be mindful of just how we are in the world, and our names can be a big piece of that. But again, there are countless, countless forms. And the biggest gift given to me by my close friend Karim is the idea that whatever we see or we don't see, whatever exists or doesn't exist, is still part of the supreme power. That we are always, always in choice. That saying yes is powerful, saying no can be just as powerful. Not making a choice is making a choice. And delaying sometimes some things that need to be said or done or chosen is making a decision whether we want to say it or not. And when we feel and we tell ourselves that there is no choice, Mahatma Gandhi said it was not a crisis of choice or not, it was a crisis of creativity. That our creative mind then can spring into action and find a way forward, and it always does. To trust in that deeply, that is true power as well. I'm going to read it again. Endlessly creating, endlessly pulsating, the spirit of the valley never dies. She's called a hidden creator, although she becomes the whole universe. Her immaculate purity is never lost, although she assumes countless forms. Her true identity remains intact. Whatever we see or we don't see, whatever exists or doesn't exist, is nothing but the creation of this supreme power. So how are we in relation to this supreme power? I'm going to go back to love. I was very moved when I first heard that there were love languages. No one ever put that to me that way. That we have these means of receiving, of expressing, of being with love. And I'm going to just list the 5. Affirmative words are one method. And again, it's not that you're limited to one. We all dance and play with all of these. But affirmative words, the expression of love. Physical, touch, and presence. Quality time is another. Service, giving of oneself is a way of expressing love. Giving of gifts, giving of your treasure. Being in the law of circulation is another way of expressing love. And as I thought about those, I thought, well, maybe those can be also the language of our power. And that's the invitation today. To reconsider those 5, and there are probably more, means of expressing power, inviting into our lives and being in conversation at all times with our power, and I mean our as in a community and as the individualization of the divine. Listen to her voice. Hear it echo through creation. Without fail, she reveals her presence. Without fail, she brings us to our own perfection. Without fail. Without fail. So may we listen perhaps through affirmation, through our own thoughts, through the immaculate and impeccability of our word, as the 4 agreements tell us. What we're thinking really does manifest. And that is truly our power. And there are countless forms to our words, yet may we just stay totally mindful of all the words we're using, all the ways in which they are alive in us. Our language of power can be that of affirmation, that is where we get to build this muscle and be with this force of life. Another way is to be present. How do we embody our power could be a curiosity. Do we show up? Are we on time? Are we in our bodies or stuck in our heads? And this is not about being a big physical presence or anything like that. One can be full power sitting silent, sitting in discomfort, being mindful, And it's not conceptual. It is always happening right here, right now. That brings us to our third, right? Giving of your time. That now is where our power is. That we give ourselves the gift of right here, right now, in order to develop, be attuned to, and express our deepest power. Again, could be in silence. Even our discomfort is a sign of our power. Pain pushes until vision pulls. That's our power speaking through our pain. And that is the greatest gift. Service, and I know this is a community devoted to service. The expression of love is palpable in this room. Yet in being service, we are being the light of the world. And that power in and of itself is allowing others to be the light of the world too. We give not only ourselves permission when we say yes and give of ourselves, but we are silently saying and allowing a lot of folks to say yes too. And there is a gorgeousness to that. And the last one is gift giving. How do we give the gift of our power? There was once a speaker that played with words, and he used the word forgiving. He played that it was one word and two, that our power is forgiving and forgiving. It reminds me of Nelson Mandela that said the most powerful weapon is the act of forgiveness because it frees the soul. Power is freedom, and forgiving is its main language. So we are always in choice. We get to choose how we dance and play with all of these. Do we get to keep tending the garden of forgiveness? And I know that's a hard one, but it is our liberation. Do we get to spend time with our power? Be present to it. No need to run around. It doesn't need to be that complex. Just be with it. Do we get to embody it, feel it in our bodies, so alive and rich? I was sitting in that chair during the songs and my heart was pounding, not out of nervousness or excitement, but out of the sheer vitality of life. Do we feel our hearts right now? There is something that is just effervescent about this life. So those are my gifts to you. That's my sharing with you today. It is an invitation to just walk on this path together because, as they say in Buddhism, the next Buddha, the next enlightened one, is the Sangha. It is the community. Power, meaningless without community. That together, mindfully, we get to move forward together, hand in hand, honoring each other's gifts and talents, knowing that we are an interplay, a beautiful, crazy puzzle where all the pieces fit. And they do fit. Creative mind is always at work. There's never a crisis of choice, just a crisis of creativity, and creative mind will turn that crisis into a beautiful, clear day. The spirit of the valley never dies, always creating, always pulsating. And without fail, she reveals her presence. Without fail, she brings us to our own perfection. And so it is.